Hello students, this is Mr. Mags, and today we're going to be talking about cross-contour lines. Now I'll be doing these videos every so often to kind of show you different techniques that we will use when we start projects. Now the project you'll need cross-contour lines for is called the hand project. Here are some examples of the hand project. Now we'll get to color later on, but what we want to focus on right now is the cross contours that go across the hands and the fingers to make the hands look three-dimensional, or like the hands are popping off the paper. These examples I'm showing you right now are student examples. Now, when you're at home and it's time to color, you can use any art materials that you have access to. You can use crayons, you can use colored pencils, you can even use markers. Now again, these are just examples of student projects. This student chose to use two hands instead of one. Okay, now, before we get started, we need to understand what a cross contour is. Now, you could have any shape. Say we drew a circle. And right now the circle's flat. It's 2D. To make this circle look three-dimensional, we can do something called cross-contouring the shape, which means drawing lines that go across the shape. We're going to pretend that the shape is round, and if we had a line coming up to the shape, it would have to curve around the shape to get to the other side. That is a cross contour. So these are lines that curve around the object or the shape to make it appear three-dimensional. Now on your assignment earlier this week, I gave you two spheres to copy. Both of these spheres or circles had cross-contour lines, which means lines going across the contour. Now you can go left to right, or you can go top to bottom. Now notice how my lines curve around the circle and around the shape. Now it doesn't have to be a round object. You can draw a rectangle. And to make the rectangle look like it's a cylinder, all you have to do is draw cross contour lines curving around the rectangle. Now these are the same lines that we will be using on this hand project. Notice how these lines curve across the fingers to make them appear to be round. We did the same thing here with this rectangle to make it appear that it is round. Okay, now it almost looks like a can. If we were to draw the other side here, we would now have a cylinder. Okay, so these are cross contours. What you need to keep in mind is that they curve around the shape. So the shape, no matter what it is, these lines curve around the object and around the shape. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to begin the project. Now it's very simple. All you need is a large sheet of paper. If you don't have a large sheet of paper, you can use your notebook. You can use notebook size paper just like this. That's fine. Okay, but if you can get some bigger paper, it'd be better. Now, we are tracing our hands. When you trace your hand, there's some guidelines that will help you throughout the project. The first guideline is make sure that your wrist and your arm is as straight as you can get it onto the paper. You want to put your fingers as close to the top as you can without them going off the edge. That's if you're doing one hand. Now, if you're doing two hands, you'll need to bump the hand over to give room for your other hand. And I recommend them doing at different levels. Maybe one hand down low, one hand up high. Okay? Now, if you're just tracing one hand, keep your hand straight, your arm straight. Your fingers need to be spread apart, but your thumb should be facing or pointing upwards. Don't have your thumb this way. If you do that, it will ruin the illusion when we're drawing our cross contours. So your thumb needs to be pointing up. Now, when you're tracing your hand, you want to hold your pencil straight up and down. If you tilt your pencil inward, you're going to end up with a skeleton hand. Trust me, it's happened many, many times. And if you tip your pencil outward, you're going to end up with a blob for a hand. So, if you want your hand to look normal, you need to hold the pencil straight up and down. And you will glide the pencil alongside your arm and each finger. Remember to draw lightly. I'm going to draw a little harder just so you can see what I'm doing. So you're going to trace your hand. Make sure your thumb's pointing up. And go all the way down to the bottom. If you've done it correctly, there should be an exact replica of your hand or a copy of your hand. Now, the only difference, because we're tracing this, and if you trace anything, your hand on the paper is going to be bigger than your actual hand. That's okay. No big deal. It doesn't matter. Just keep in mind, you want all your fingers pointing upward and your thumb also pointing upward so that your hand is easier to draw cross contours on. Now, once you have your hand drawn, it's then time to get a ruler to draw the lines in the background. So here's our example again. Now you can see in the background we have straight lines. Now, if you don't have a ruler at home, a little trick you can use. If you have a notebook or any other straight edge, you can use that as a ruler. Just trace the notebook. So you don't necessarily need a ruler. Now, if for some reason there's a part of your hand that you do not like, or you want to alter in any way, you can erase it and change it. So maybe right here, my thumb's a little extended or too big. I can erase that and then redraw it. Now, when you get the ruler, or like I said, you can use any straight edge you have, you're going to take the ruler, and mine's clear, and you're going to start somewhere near the bottom of the paper. Now, since my ruler is thicker, I'm going to hang it off the edge of the paper. If you have a typical normal ruler, like the ones we have in school, you can bump that ruler right to the bottom of the page. They're about 1 inch thick, and you can just keep tracing that ruler, one ruler on top of the other. Okay, since my ruler is a little bit thicker, I'm going to kind of freehand my lines. So you want your line straight. You're going to start on the bottom of the paper, lightly with your pencil. You are going to trace until you hit your hand. Once you hit your hand, you will stop. Do not draw over your hand. Again, do not draw over your arm or your hand. Pick up on the other side and continue drawing your line. All the way to the edge of the paper. Okay, then you're going to put your ruler on top of that line and draw a second one. Try to keep your lines nice and level. They shouldn't be tilted, and the spaces should be the same in between. Again, I skipped my hand. I did not draw any lines on the hand. And I'm going to continue to go up the entire paper, stopping when I hit the hand, picking up on the other side and continuing. Now you can pause this video. You can rewatch it as many times as you need to. With art, I think these videos work much better because you're in control of the speed in which you're receiving the information. If you're, behind, you can stop the video and wait. If you need to rewatch it, you can. Okay, it's a little bit easier that way. So I'm going to continue drawing my lines from the top to the bottom, stopping when I hit the hand, and picking up on the other side. Okay, as I approach the hand, it'll get a little bit more difficult, but nothing major, nothing you can't handle. When you take your ruler, again, make sure that you're not drawing over your hand or your palm or anything like that. And when we get to the fingers, you'll see the lines need to go in between each finger in order for this illusion to work. Because remember, we want the hand to appear that it's popping off the paper, or three-dimensional, not just flat. Okay, so I'm getting close. I'm right where the thumb is. So I'm going to draw my line, stop at the hand. I'm not going to hit there, but I have to draw a line in between my hand and my thumb, and then pick up on the other side. You see what I did there? Stopped in between the hand and the thumb. I needed to draw a line, and then I picked up on the other side. Now, I will be going in between each finger. So stopping when I hit the finger, picking up on the other end, and going in between each one. And I just managed to go on top of the thumb there, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, I'm going to continue. Drawing a line, stopping at each finger, going in between, picking up on the other side. Again, drawing a line, stopping at the fingers, in between each one, picking up on the other side. And I'm going to continue this process until I reach the top of the paper. Stopping because that finger's there, picking up on the other side. Okay. Getting close to the top, and this may be my last line. I'll see how it works out. Okay, we'll go one more. Okay, notice if you have done this correctly, your spacing should be the same on all of these lines in between. Okay, so in between each other, all these spacings should be pretty similar if you've done it correctly. Again, here's the student example. And there's my example. Okay? Now, to finish off the cross contours, what we need to do is connect lines. We're going to imagine that each one of these lines is a road. And in order to connect the roads, we need to build bridges. So, starting with your very first line, once it hits the hand, you need to draw a curved line to connect these roads. And that will be your cross contour. Okay, so you don't want the arch to be too high up, but you don't want it to be too flat. Okay, there's my first arch. Now you can only draw arches where you have roads, or you can only draw these bridges where you have roads. So you need to connect one side to the other with a nice arch or bridge. One side to the other. One side to the other. You should not have any arches in between these spaces because there are no lines there. Only where you have one line and you need to start at that line. Draw your curve or arch and finish at the other side. Now when you get to the hand, it gets a little bit tricky. You have to pay attention to where these lines are and stay on the same line. Arch up and down. We're going with the contours in the hand, across the hand, up and down. Okay, right here it's a little tricky because we have a contour here. This part where it's going to dip in and then pick up and go back over. So I'm going to go from here to the space in between my thumb, pick up on the other side, and continue my arch. That's the tough part. That's the part that most students have a hard time with. And even here, my arch could be better. So I'm going to erase that and kind of just pick it up a little bit more. Okay, that's better. Now, this is another tricky point that students have a hard time. From this pinky, you have to come up and come down between the fingers. But then you must pick it up again and connect to this line. So we're going up for the pinky, down in between the fingers, up, and then back down. Again, if you need to see this again, pause the video and rewind it. And then right here, we need to go up for the thumb, come back down. Always come down where there's a line. Up for each finger and down in between. Up and down in between each finger. Connect the lines. It's like connect the dots, but we're doing lines instead. Connect the lines on each finger. Should have a nice arch for each finger, up and down. Now, if your line, mine didn't do this, but if your line happens to fall right below the tip of the finger, you can use the tip of the finger as your line, come back down and go straight across. Okay, so right now, this hand is pretty much done. Okay, we have it traced, we have all of our lines, we have all of our contours and everything. Your next step, if you have a Sharpie at home or any type of marker, you would then outline all of your pencil marks with Sharpie or marker, just like this one is. If you don't have Sharpie or marker, you can use black colored pencil. Okay? You would take the black colored pencil or the Sharpie or the marker, whichever you have, and you're going to outline your hand, and you're going to outline all of the cross contours and outline the lines in the background. So I'm just taking my Sharpie and I'm basically tracing all of my pencil marks. Now you need to be careful with this, but don't worry. If you make a mistake, you can erase the pencil marks underneath and then don't worry about the Sharpie. Okay, just make sure the Sharpie's as close as it can be. Like right there, I went a little bit off the pencil mark. That's okay, because I could always come back and erase that pencil mark. You want to take your time, outline your pencil marks. Again, trace your lines. If you go off the line a little bit, don't worry. Like I said, I'll show you in a second once I finish this hand. We can just erase the pencil marks. And hopefully you drew light enough that the pencil marks will erase. Again, like I said, I was pressing a little hard so that you can see. So mine may not erase as nice as I want them to. Okay, now remember, the background lines also need to get traced in Sharpie, okay? I'm not going to show you that on the video. You can do that on your own. And when I come back with the second video showing you how to use color and talking about the color wheel and which colors we're going to use for this project, then this will be completely Sharpied and ready to go. Now, you'll notice in a couple spots right here, right there, and right here, I have gone outside of my pencil marks. But that's okay, because I have an eraser. Hopefully you do too. You're going to take that eraser and erase any extra pencil marks. It's actually a good idea to just go over everything that you Sharpied and erase the pencil marks. So then when you color with colored pencil, you won't see any of the pencil marks. Okay, so I'm going over these, erasing any lines, any mistakes, and I am left just with the Sharpied hand. Okay, so that's the end of this week's lesson. You have warm-ups, you have a journal, and you have some drawing exercises to do, and also this part of the project, the hand project. Again, you're going to Sharpie the background lines also. Next week, I'm going to show you how to use color. Okay, what colors match. We're going to talk about complementary colors, analogous colors, and other colors like that that you can use. And you'll have new warm-ups and a new journal next week. Okay, get started drawing, have fun, and be creative.